we have Jorg from the global applications team, and at the bottom, not the least, we have John Broughton from the global applications team as well. We're going to sort of discuss what we have seen, what we've been listening to for the last 2 days. One of the things we just had a very informal chat about was some of the mega trends. And Jörg, you had something about cities and infrastructures and electrification, etc. What is your take? What have you sort of gained from the last 2 days in that respect?
Well, that of course these are pretty strong trends. Everybody kind of knows and has probably noticed that more and more people live in cities. Cities become bigger, larger, and that's why we have more and more people living in cities. So that's one pretty strong trend. And to support all that, we need, of course, a physical infrastructure, either to get people around, to get food for people around, other supplies into the cities. That's the physical infrastructure. And of course, we need to have, I call it the non-physical data, energy, whatever infrastructure. I know there are cables and stuff like that. Yeah, but you don't carry data with a truck around. I mean, it's on a cable, but you need a lot of infrastructure there as well. And all of that runs on electricity. And more transport runs on electricity as well. There were quite a lot of discussions about that, how all that is somewhat connected, because at least that's my learning and impression. Nothing of that stands alone. Everything is somehow connected with each other and has an influence on something else. Don't know about you, John. What do you feel about that?
Yeah, I'll just make a comment before I answer your question, Jorg. Just to say hello to Yazid, who has joined, and we're here to also answer your questions. So if you have any questions, please put them in the chat, and we'll do our best to answer them. And hi, and also, so Jorg, yeah, just coming back to your sort of question about the big trends that we see in our business and sort of globally. Yeah, I mean, the urbanization of the world is, transforming greatly. A lot of people are moving from the countryside into the cities. So we see these mega trends, which has a huge impact on all the resources that we need to make our life function, I guess. So the buildings, the cars, the delivery, the refrigeration, the food, all of that becomes quite centralized, I guess. And how will that progress over the coming decade? I guess it only gets better or worse. It depends what's classed as better and what's classed as worse. But I think more and more people will, move to urban areas rather than the countryside areas, I guess, which then puts a huge, not strain on resource, but you need the resources there to, provide for the life, I guess.
Well, this idea of moving out of the urban area, to the urban area, actually, at least here in Denmark, we've seen a trend going towards summer houses. Yes, it's only preliminary housing, so to speak, but it's. I take that as a trend towards getting, at least for a period, out of the city to get rid of people contaminating the air with COVID and whatever. But I don't know. You still see that as a urbanization trend, despite the latest things with COVID-19.
Yeah, to me that's an interesting point that you bring up. Yes, there is the convenience of living in a city. You have everything nearby, whatever you need, as you mentioned, John. And then there is the nice part of going out of that city from time to time and have a place, if possible, to go to relax a bit of not having everybody around you. But most of the time, it's really the convenience of an urban area. It doesn't necessarily need to be the city center, but more of an urban area where you have a metro, a bus connection, where you have fast internet connections, where you might not need to think about your own heat supply for your house because you might be connected to a district heating network and stuff like that. So it's really a lot of comfort thinking, and you don't need to commute to get to your place of work. But I mean, I don't. You see, I'm sitting at home right now, as probably many others. Yeah, but there are still a lot of people who cannot do their work from home. I mean, if somebody in the supermarket works from home, it gets a bit difficult to run a supermarket, right?
Yeah, no, I guess that's true, Jorg. And I guess when we talk about urbanization, as you said, it's not just the big city. I mean, what you see in a lot of places now is that the actual city centre is still the centre of the city, but people move out to the suburbs, if you like. But those suburb areas are serviced by the supermarkets, by the gyms, by the shops. So it's a collection of urban areas. And one thing that struck me particularly when I was away travelling last year and the year before in Australia and also New Zealand to a degree is that it wouldn't be a town centre or a city centre, but there would be an area of all the local shops that you would need or services every so many kilometres, so that would service that particular neighbourhood of shops. And I see that also in the UK now with the new housing estates that pop up, is that there is always a shop, there's always a gym, there's a coffee shop, there's a blah blah, that sort of and that, as we said, is still the urbanization of the environment because you bring the resources to where they're needed. And that has a huge impact on our business in the refrigeration world, because you need to get the refrigerated food to many different places now, rather than just a central location as it used to be for the city, maybe.
Yeah, a sort of a decentralized centralization, if you could put it that way. Maybe a silly way of doing it, but I mean, I guess it also will enhance the effectivity of energy savings, right? I mean, now supermarkets has been mentioned a couple of times now, and we all, especially here at Danfoss, know about recycling energy, so to speak. So I guess it makes sense to have some sort of centralization of sorts, but still maybe in a local area rather than in a huge big city. Or
no, I agree to that. You in the beginning, when we started talking a bit, Jens, you mentioned COVID-19 and all the stuff in the city center and summer house and so on. And we talk about supermarkets. There's a question that came in from Rana, as far as I can see, saying, how is the frozen food market affected by COVID-19? Honestly, I don't know. I can only imagine something, but I don't have any numbers to back that up or any studies I've seen. All I can imagine is that it has an influence in a way that there are more people looking into frozen food because there is no canteen they go to because the office is closed. Maybe not that many restaurants they go to. And that's probably why that has an influence on the frozen food market.
Yeah, I would agree, Jorg, with that. And there's been some statistics that I've seen in the UK, and I can't go to the percentages, but I know that the general market.
Falling down here. I'm back in a second.
Yeah, no worries. Yeah, I mean the production of frozen food and the demand for food generally, but frozen food in particular, I know from the UK has skyrocketed because people are very concerned that we enter lockdowns, etc. So the frozen food market is great. You buy it frozen, you can store it at home for an almost indefinite period. So I would say it's had a, let's say, positive increase. And Alan has asked a question to you, Jorg, a little bit more, so I'll let you answer that.
Yeah, or probably not a question, but Alan has sent that comment. Yeah, we know that the transport market is down due to COVID. Road transport is harder hit than reefer containers. Okay, yeah. That's true. Road transport is hit quite a bit on that one. Yeah. That's absolutely correct. Yeah. And then thanks for mentioning all that, Ellen, that we have these double digits going down on the road transport and single digits for reefer containers. Difficult to say exactly why that is. There are probably many reasons for that, and they all combine into that effect here. But Jens, I would like to bend the conversation around a bit again, coming back to your questions, where you said, what about energy efficiency and so on? And then we hear about electrification a lot. And that fits, in my opinion, to the summer house again. I mean, in the summer house, probably very long time ago, there might have been a gas-fired heating system or whatever with a gas bottle, and you turned that on when you came to your summer house. And then people said, more convenient might be something that is electricity, so I don't have to change the gas bottles all the time. And it was just an electric heater, which is pretty convenient. And now that electric heater can easily be replaced by a heat pump. Air-to-air heat pump, which all of a sudden saves a lot of energy by providing the same comfort. And even more because the heater can heat, but it cannot cool. A reversible air-to-air unit can even do cooling if you have that very hot Danish summer sometimes.
It happens. Yeah.
Yeah, that's like the UK summer as well, I think.
Yeah, but Alan, your comments actually triggered something in the head of me, and maybe it's my strange head that is working in funny ways. But I was just thinking about COVID again, and where it allegedly came from, because that's apparently all still discussed. The wet markets, especially in Asia, South Asia. They are there because there are no cooling or freezing, if you get my sort of drift. Where I mean, it could actually be, or maybe it's a hope from my side that we could actually reduce the number of wet markets when we introduce a better food quality possibilities in those regions as well, if you know what I'm trying to say.
I think so, and that fits perfectly to a statement that comes from Anil that we got, which says in India, large supermarket never came in vogue and probably will not. An unmissable trend of online stores is seen, and that should lead to an alternative model. Absolutely, yes. And I think that's seen everywhere, that you see these online food supplies coming up. And of course, you know that I'm not talking about somebody shows you a carrot on the screen. I mean, that you cannot eat that, but you can order online, and then the food gets somehow transported to you, or you pick it up somewhere. That there are different models there. But yes, like in the non-food market for books, for example, or almost any other non-food item that you can order online nowadays, it seems that there is a change going on for food as well. How big that's going to be, let's see. But there's quite a lot of that.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, as you say, Jorg, that is a global trend. It doesn't matter which region or country you're in. Online shopping for anything is, growing exponentially, and I think food is, no different to that. I've seen in the UK, I've seen in Europe, where you can have your food delivered to your house. I've seen it where you can have a fridge that is outside your property, that the delivery guy comes and puts your groceries in, and I don't know, he has a key or a digit pad or something, and he can load that, and then you then take it in the house when you come home from work. I've also seen similar things, mostly in Europe, where it's a centralized sort of fridge, I guess, and it has a compartment, and that's yours, but it's in a central block. And the same thing, the delivery driver comes in, puts the product in, and then you pick it up at a later stage. There's also the pickup stations at the large supermarkets or in other central hubs where you go and you pick up your, shopping. So there's so many different variants of that now. And I can only see that going one way. And that is eventually that, you won't physically have a shop anymore. You will literally everything will come to you somehow. A good topic from Meta: online shopping was forced, it's not wanted. I'm one of those strange men, Meta, that I like shopping, which my wife finds extremely strange. But and Jorg will know this, and I know this from Jorg. We spent some time in India, and we actually spent about an hour in a grocery store just looking around at everything because we like shopping. So, I mean, it's I don't know. There is a part of the population that loves online shopping. There's a part of the population that hates it, or dislikes it. Maybe hate is a very strong word, but I think eventually, you will not find a shop where you buy a product. You might find a shop where you view a product, but you won't buy it from the shop. It'll be delivered to you. But let's see what happens.
There's a good question from Tom Hannaby. I can't quite see all of the question itself.
Yeah, hi Tom.
Hello. With online sales
Tom.
In food growing, the need for blast cooling and for that meta carousel storage as space is a premium. Agree. As John said, I'm one of these strange guys as well who likes going to shops, food stores, and non-food as well. I'm sorry. So I don't wanna be rude to anybody, but I don't get it. I like it to go to a food store and see my food, but around me I have so many friends who order already food, and just a week, 2 ago, I've been quite impressed. There came a big package, and there was vegetables, there was meat and fish inside. The vegetables just like that, and the meat and fish was packed in cold packs. So they had frozen packs around the meat and another one around the fish to keep that cold. And there was a small information in that pack which said this pack keeps the fish cold for, I don't remember, 40 hours or anything like that, even when the sun is shining on that package. So there are going to be quite some new concepts for all of that. If you don't pick it up somewhere at the station where you pick it up, if you really get it delivered by post.
Yeah, totally agree. And I just need to say hi to Tom because Tom said hi. So hi, Tom. Nice to see you on the chat. Yeah, totally agree with that. And I was looking into it the other day a little bit with pharmaceutical, because I got a question from application guys in one of the wholesalers about pharmaceutical delivery. And that's pretty much the same thing, but they have some fantastic products in that to ensure that that medicine can travel, through the transport hubs, whether it's road, whether it's airline, and keep it within plus or minus 2 degrees of a target temperature for a period of time. And some of those period of times are like 24 hours. So it's amazing the technology that's there now to make sure that the product you ask for online is delivered absolutely perfectly. So I can see a lot of that happening.
It's pretty interesting that this is another good example for refrigeration that everybody uses. I mean, almost everybody has a fridge at home. Many people have an air conditioning system at home. In a car, the air conditioning system is very normal nowadays. But if you ask people who are not in our trade, in our business, about refrigeration, everybody goes like, no idea where that might be. And if you say fridge, like, yeah, there. So it's getting normal to use that, to have that, to just have something cold, something refrigerated. It is expected, and that's why I think it's getting more, that we see more and more refrigeration at different places, and that's why we need to look at energy efficiency as well, to avoid that we grow the energy demand for refrigeration too much by increasing the refrigeration demand.
Yeah, I guess that's a very good topic, Jorg. And I think over the last couple of days in Cooling United Live, we heard that roughly 20% of the world's electricity is used for refrigeration. Which is a huge number. But one thing that I found quite interesting, and we talk about the internet and online shopping and the Internet of Things and all those sort of topics, is that the data centers that we all use, that we don't know we use, but we use to store, our data or company data or whatever, that the actual energy demand from the data centers hasn't actually increased year on year on year, because the equipment in those energy centers is becoming more and more energy efficient, and mainly that's the refrigeration systems. So a lot of work is being done to make things as energy efficient as possible, and as we go on and as technology gets better, then hopefully if we have this huge increase in demand for cooling, which we see, and there was a figure that I can't remember, the amount of new air conditioning units that are sold every day globally is phenomenal, because everybody, as you said, expects to be cold, and it's a given now. So I think there's a lot of work to be done with the energy efficiency of everything, so that that increase in products doesn't necessarily mean the same increase in the energy demand.
Yeah, and there are these interesting discussions sometimes when we talk, let's stay in Europe for a moment, about eco-design guidelines. There are eco-design guidelines for many products. Something that everybody in Europe knows is the normal light bulb. When the light bulb was replaced by more energy efficient light emitting things like an LED. And there are these discussions out there where people say, yeah, but you don't really see a decrease in energy demand due to all these eco-design things. So do they work? In my opinion, yes, because as you said, John, we have more and more of these energy consuming products. We reduce the demand for let's say light. But then everybody has a smartphone, 1, 2, maybe a laptop, an iPad, or any other pad. No, not necessarily an eye only. Any other pad. So these things, they need a lot of electricity, and we still don't see a major increase. Sometimes we even see a decrease. So all that works because we save energy somewhere else. In refrigeration systems, that there are these requirements for cabinets, for example, in restaurants and stores and so on, that they need to to have a certain energy efficiency. If you are below that one, you are either not able to sell it because you can't, you're not allowed to, or you need to market with such a low grade that everybody goes like, I'm not going to buy that. I want a A or B, maximum a C, but not a G or an F. So these systems work, and of course they put pressure on the industry to make more efficient systems. But there are interesting solutions, and sometimes the solution is that intelligent that you don't even need to pay that much more, if any.
No, it's a good point. It's a good point. I mean, just talking about general, refrigeration, there is so much we can do with. I mean, if you think of the compressor, and that's not really changed. Okay, we've got piston, we've got scroll, we've got screw, rotary, blah blah blah. But the sort of basics of compression stay the same. It's still a motor, and it's still some form of, whether it's piston, scroll, rotary, whatever. That part hasn't really changed. I mean, okay, we've got absorption chillers and things like that, but the basic mechanics of refrigeration haven't really changed. We've still got the compressor, we've still got a condenser, we've still got an expansion device, still got an evaporator. And there's only so much work we can do to make that as energy efficient as possible before the cost goes, very, very high, and then nobody buys the product unless you're forced down that route by the legislative powers. So there becomes another interesting sort of topic to say, okay, yes, we can make this very, very efficient, but it's going to be 3 times the cost.
Yeah, there is certainly a limit to that one, of course. And I fully understand that. I mean, as a consumer, if I can save €5 a year on energy costs, but I need to pay €600 more for that product, I probably don't live that long to be able, and even if the product would last that long. So that's pretty clear. But on the other hand, if you go for a microchannel, for example, microchannel heat exchanger as a condenser, if you do that in an intelligent way, if you use that one, you might have a lower pressure drop on the fan side. You can save a little bit of fan speed, reduce your condensing pressure and condensing temperature, and make the system more efficient, and maybe even save some money because you use that micro channel. So sometimes there are really good solutions there, and we just need to find the good points here.
Can I just answer at least 2 questions? I got a sidekick from Alan. Thank you, Alan. And the answer is no. But then Meta is kind of raising a funny question. Well, funny, I don't know if it's funny as such, but the 5G coming along, whether you like it or not, I think the energy efficiency will be the same, more or less. I don't think it will hurt anything in terms of energy consumption, the 5G. The only thing that happens with 5G is that you raise the frequencies quite high, and yes, traditionally it will hurt your processor, but I think the efficiency of the processors these days are actually okay. So I don't think it'll increase the energy efficiency.
I cannot say too much about that, apart from a very unqualified remark that I've been in a private aircraft, and the guy who flew the aircraft did a turn, and that put 4G on us. So that's a small g. So that hurt me far more than my battery in the phone, but I don't know about 5G. So sorry about that.
Oh, true.
Yeah, no, it's a good subject, Jens, and I'm no expert by any means, but I think it's like most things. As technology gets better, then yes, the processor might have to work faster for 5G, but it's more energy efficient than the processor was for 4G. So
yeah, exactly.
It cancels it out maybe, but again, not an expert for sure. Yeah, I mean, talking of 5G and the IoT again, coming back to things like that, then we have, if we talk about our business, refrigeration, maybe we get to a point where we have devices out there that are, self-learning, self-communicating on something like 5G. So that sort of step in technology might make changes to our business as well. I mean, in the past when I was much younger, you had a refrigeration system. It either worked or it didn't work. You only found out when it stopped working when the temperature rose. Now we have the connectivity on a lot of sites via IP or GSM that can pre-warn that your temperature is increasing. Will 5G then take that to another level? That's a good topic as well. Who knows what we will have in another 5 years or 10 years? If you look back in history, the iPhone, it's only been around for X number of years, and now it's just a given that you have that technology at your fingertips.
Agree, and that's an interesting point you mentioned, John. There was a time when it was clear either the system is down or not, because the temperature was too high in the cold room, for example. But then it was too late already. Now you get the information a bit earlier, not when the alarm rings because an ambulance comes around the corner to pick a customer up from a restaurant because the food was spoiled, but you get the alarm already a bit earlier from a sensor which says it's getting too warm here, but still in a safe area. Of course, all that probably changes the daily life of an installer a lot as well, or a service guy who drives around there. And maybe we have somebody online here listening. If you want, throw in some points that you experience, how that is for you in your daily life, what changes you see due to either this connectivity or maybe the new refrigerants and stuff like that. Or if you want to bend our discussion a bit in a different direction, just throw us some crumbs here and we pick them up.
Yeah, that sounds good. And Meta, you put a nice comment on the chat, so thank you. You love Danfoss Company, and so are Danfoss, best product systems I've ever worked with. So that's a very nice thing to say.
You.
So appreciate that greatly. And that's why we do this job, is for the comments like that. But yeah, really interested to see how it is in the real world. We sit, I spend time on site, so does Jorg, and Jens. We do a lot of training material for the installers out there, and we hope, we think that what the life is like out there in the real world. But then I sort of come back to that topic before of, to my understanding now, time is everything to the installer. Incredibly busy, and I think that's the world. Generally, everybody wants everything now. Nobody can wait anymore, and I think that's the internet that has sort of made life like that. When I was, much smaller, if you wanted something, you saved up your pennies and you bought it, and you had to go to a physical shop to buy it. Whereas now, yeah, I'd like that. Click, it's done. You buy it on credit, no problems. And I think that is the way now for the installers. The customer wants everything now, doesn't want to wait for it. Why is it not working? Fix it. Everything is incredibly immediate, I think, and we see that from the wholesalers. Point of view. You can order something at 5 o'clock at night. It's there for you at 9 o'clock the next morning. And when I go back to when I was on the tools, which is a few years ago now, life was a little bit more relaxed, I would say, for when I was an installer. Yes, things had to work, but if something didn't work or if something broke, there was that understanding that, yes, it's mechanical and things do break and we can fix things, but it takes a bit of time. Whereas now it's, why is it broken? It shouldn't break. We need it now. And I think that is only going to get worse, if you like, not better.
Yeah, and the expectation, and I have that expectation as well, goes strongly into the direction that it does not break, or it breaks only if it has given me a pre-warning. Take your car. I mean, is anybody of us still checking whether the oil level is okay or not in the car before you do a 200 kilometer or 500 kilometer trip? You just jump into your car, you start it, you go, right? And you expect that the oil indicator comes up when you miss a bit oil. And that should come up far before the engine dies. And that's stuff that comes more and more in other areas as well. And for refrigeration systems, it's the same. So if you go to a supermarket and you simply expect as a supermarket owner that you get a pre-warning that one of your cabinets starts to become too warm. It might still be working, but you want to have a warning which says you need to look at my cabinet here, because that might fail sooner or later.
Cheers, Anil, just to say goodbye. So,
Thank
you're
you, Anil.
signing off. Sorry, Jorg, to jump in. So, yeah, appreciate the nice comments. And I think that was a good one for you, Jens, that Anil put up, to say that he loves all the online presence and the training material that we do. So, yeah,
thank
good
you
for that. Thank you, Anil. And Meta, you put a... I will answer the comment from Meta first. You said that life is still, crazy in the service tech world, and I can't see the comment that you wrote before. For some reason, the chat has sort of refreshed itself a little bit. But you said it's basically still crazy, which is as I understand. So maybe you can expand on that a little bit, Meta. That would be good. And Lars, thank you for your comment regarding a certain German car. I know exactly where you're coming from on that one.
Or is that the driving style? Just joking.
It could be.
No. Of course, it's not the driving style.
No way.
Thank you, Meta.
Yeah, but we just had that comment there, which said the service style is going to be, or the service world is still pretty. What was the word?
Anarchic, I think. Meta used.
Yeah, exactly. And there is a certain lack of skilled technicians. Yes, depending on where you are, that is larger, that lack, or smaller, and that's why there is a need to somehow provide information to technicians, trainings, because we are in a world that changes faster. So there are new techniques, new products coming in, especially on the electronics side, that you have controllers and so on, but you still need to have the basic refrigeration knowledge as well. And of course, there is a need for training. And hopefully we as Danfoss can help there a bit with all the training material and all the white papers and so on that are available.
Yeah, I think that's a good point, Jorg, to be honest. And as Meta has put in the chat, there's a lot of old systems in stores, money needed to upgrade. Techs are often still thrown into the fire, totally agree. And older techs dominate the industry and are retiring. And that is a very, let's say, keen topic of mine, is to inspire the younger generation to actually come into this business, because it is a fantastic business. But getting that trained person, the people who are good and mechanically minded, is a real challenge. And you put there in the chat, Meta, I'm in the US. There are trade schools for AC, very little on refrigeration, heating, ventilating, and air conditioning. You can find it through Danfoss, but you have to want it. Yeah, I think that's very true. I mean, we have a lot of material available online, and maybe we can put some links at the bottom of the chat of all the material that's available. A lot done by Jens, Yeah, I agree with that. So now, come on, Jens.
Ah.
Yeah, and
A lot.
from own experience, just in case we have some younger people here who listen to that and wonder whether they should go to refrigeration. Yes, do it. The reason why I'm saying that is, yeah, decades ago, just right after the dinosaurs died out, I've did that as well, and of course the question was, is that going to be interesting? And it is far more interesting than I ever expected, because there is so much going on. You have to know a little bit about electricity. You have to know about fluids. You have to know about airflow, temperatures, all of that.
Mechanics, yeah.
And it's getting more and more important, as you mentioned, John. 17 to 20% of the global electricity is used for air conditioning and refrigeration. I mean that's quite a lot.
Yeah. It's an interesting question, and I wonder if there is another application that actually uses a larger percentage of electricity than air conditioning and refrigeration globally. I'd be really interested to see if there is another function that uses more power. I often think about that, because 20% or 17 to 20% is a huge amount.
Yeah. Actually, if you're looking at storage, like storage rooms, like for servers, etc., it's a huge amount of energy that is, at least today, wasted nowadays, or in the near future at least. We know that they will be repurposing the cooling energy from server storages.
Yeah. I mean, if you see some of the server farms, they are
server farms,
huge. But again, something that was mentioned, I think it was yesterday, was saying, and I mentioned it before, that the amount of energy that they actually use is getting less and less, because they're getting very efficient, but also because now they are so large that the smaller farms are being absorbed into the larger farms. So the actual energy usage per amount of storage space is actually going down, something like that, which again is quite interesting.
And that closes somewhat the cycle where we started, because if you have such a large data center, a server farm that produces quite a lot of heat, you can throw it away, that heat. Yes. Or you use it for something else. And there was an interesting discussion, I think it was today as well, in Cooling United, where that was highlighted, that you can use that energy to put it into a district heating system. And that requires one connection to that data center. And then the data center is really big source of heat energy for a district heating network. And by the way, that is needed more and more, because in a lot of regions there is the idea to get rid of fossil fuel power stations. But if you get rid of a coal-fired power station, for example, you all of a sudden miss that heat energy that came from the coal-fired power station as well, that you might have put into a district heating network, and you need new heat sources. And that's where I'd like to come back to that point that was mentioned in Cooling United. Yes, heating is the new way for cooling.
Yeah, that was a good comment, actually, Jorg, and really makes you think about how people use the systems. If you think back, or I think back to when I was on the tools, very, very rarely did I see any form of heat reclaim. But nowadays it is becoming more and more common, particularly on larger sites. And it is, fairly straightforward. Whereas, 15, 20, 25 years ago or more, heat reclaim was almost unheard of. I can only think of one site that I know when I was on the tools that had any form of heat reclaim. So yeah, it's an interesting concept.
Yeah, if you look at supermarkets which are new or pretty much rebuilt, a lot of these supermarkets do not have a boiler anymore to heat the supermarket. They really take the heat, waste heat. I hate that word, but heat from the refrigeration system and put it back into heating the supermarket. And depending on where you are, I even know a store where they use that heat to defrost the parking area. Guess what? It's in the north. Yes.
Yeah.
But to keep that free of ice. So there are all these concepts which combine different technologies and then make it really attractive from a financial side as well, because all of a sudden you have a heating system that is your cooling system, and you need your cooling system anyway. You add a heat exchanger or a heat recovery unit, which is cheaper than in parallel building a complete heating system.
It's a funny thought that a frozen chicken is actually keeping you warm.
Yeah.
Is that chicken or egg, Jens?
Yeah,
that's a good one.
No, but I think, guys, we have been talking for now quite a while, and
so long already.
Yeah. So maybe it's a good time to sort of wrap the thing up and say thank you very much for listening in, all of you guys, and especially for all your fantastic comments. Also from Louisiana, yeah. That's great. Yeah. So thank you for tuning in. Yes, and hope to see you again someday, somewhere, sometime for hopefully the near future. At least I'll say thank you so much for you attending us, three guys chatting along. Any comments from any of you two?
Maybe one, because there's one further question from Rana. Do you consider expanding the topic technically? Using heat for cooling sounds interesting. Well, one idea might be to do a podcast session about that, so that you hear about this one. Or if you want to have a direct contact, of course, feel free to contact local Danfoss staff or contact us directly as well.
Correct. Yeah. And from my side, Jens, it's good to chat. Thank you to everybody who is listening in and watching. I can see we've got 58 people watching us on YouTube. So nice to have you. Hope it's been of interest. And same as Jorg, appreciate all the good questions. And a few people, Jan says already looking forward to the next session. So thank you for that.
Now the pressure's on.
Yeah, exactly.
Exactly.
Thank you so much for listening.
Yeah.
Thank you.